The Russian Connection. The elegant dining room of the Metropolitan buzzed with quiet conversation and the gentle clink of crystal glasses. Warm amber light from the chandelier cast a golden glow over the mahogany tables, where Chicago's wealthy elite enjoyed their evening meals. The restaurant's polished atmosphere spoke of old money and refined taste, where every detail was carefully orchestrated to provide the perfect dining experience. Alexandra Volkov moved gracefully between the tables, her blonde hair pulled back in an elegant ponytail that swayed gently as she walked. She had worked at the Metropolitan for 2 years, ever since arriving in America from Moscow. Her striking blue eyes and professional demeanor made her popular with the regular customers, though few knew the story behind her polite smile. Alexandra carried herself with a quiet dignity that spoke of a different life before coming to Chicago. She had once been a translator for international business firms in Russia, fluent in 4 languages and holding a master's degree in linguistics. But circumstances had forced her to leave everything behind and start over in a country where her credentials meant little without the proper connections. Tonight felt like any other evening shift until she noticed the man at table 12. David Matthews sat alone, reviewing documents while occasionally glancing around the restaurant. He was one of the Metropolitan's most distinguished regular customers, a tech entrepreneur whose success story was well known throughout the city. His tailored navy suit and confident presence commanded respect. Yet there was something melancholy about the way he ate dinner alone most evenings. Alexandra had served David many times over the past months. He was always polite, tipped generously, and never seemed to notice her as anything more than efficient service. Tonight, he appeared more distracted than usual, frequently checking his phone and looking toward the entrance as if expecting someone who never arrived. As Alexandra refilled his water glass, her phone began to ring. She glanced at the caller ID and felt her heart skip. It was her grandmother in Moscow, probably calling about her grandfather's declining health. Alexandra had been sending most of her earnings home to help with his medical expenses, leaving little for herself. "Excuse me for just one moment," she said softly to David, stepping a few feet away to answer the call. "Babushka," Alexandra spoke quietly in Russian, her voice filled with concern. "How is Dadushka feeling today?" David looked up from his papers, his attention caught by the melodic sound of her native language. He found himself listening, not understanding the words but recognizing the emotion in her voice. There was worry there, and love, and a deep sadness that resonated with his own recent experiences of loss. "Da ya ponimayu," Alexandra continued, her free hand unconsciously touching her heart as she spoke. "Tell him I will find a way to come home soon. The doctors there are better than what we can afford here." David watched as Alexandra's expression grew more troubled. He noticed how she glanced around nervously, making sure her conversation wasn't disturbing other guests. Her professionalism never wavered, even while dealing with what was clearly a personal crisis. "Babushka, ya tebia blue, kiss Dadushka for me," Alexandra concluded, her voice catching slightly on the words. She ended the call and took a deep breath, composing herself before turning back to David with her usual polite smile. "I apologize for the interruption, Mr. Matthews. Is there anything else I can bring you this evening?" David studied her face for a moment, seeing past the professional mask to the genuine concern underneath. "That was Russian, wasn't it?" he asked gently. Alexandra nodded, surprised by his interest. "Yes, sir. I was speaking with my grandmother in Moscow. I hope it didn't disturb your dinner." "Not at all. My late wife Sarah was fascinated by languages. She always said you could hear someone's heart in their native tongue." David paused, setting down his fork. "Is everything all right with your family?" The unexpected kindness in his voice caught Alexandra off guard. For a moment, her professional composure slipped, and David saw the worry she had been hiding. "My grandfather is quite ill," she admitted quietly. "The medical care he needs is expensive, and what's available locally isn't, well, it's not enough." David nodded thoughtfully. He had noticed Alexandra's work ethic over the months, her attention to detail, and the way she treated every customer with genuine respect. There was something about her that reminded him of Sarah's strength and grace. "What did you do before working here?" he asked, genuinely curious. "I was a translator and interpreter in Moscow. International business, diplomatic meetings, that sort of thing. But when I came to America, it was difficult to transfer my credentials and find similar work without the right connections." David's mind began working. His company had recently landed several contracts with Eastern European firms, and they desperately needed someone with Alexandra's language skills and cultural knowledge. But more than that, something about this young woman's dignity in the face of hardship touched him deeply. "Alexandra," he said, reading her name from her badge, "would you be free tomorrow afternoon? I'd like to discuss a business opportunity with you." Alexandra looked puzzled. "A business opportunity? Sir, I believe your talents are being wasted here, no matter how excellent your service is. I may have a position that would better match your qualifications." And he paused, thinking of his own recent struggles with loss and loneliness. Sometimes we all need someone to give us a chance to start over. The next morning, Alexandra received a call from David's assistant, asking her to be ready for pickup at noon. She spent the morning in nervous anticipation, wondering what kind of opportunity a successful businessman like David Matthews could possibly have for a waitress. When the black sedan arrived at her modest apartment building, Alexandra felt like she was stepping into a dream. The driver was polite and professional, but offered no details about their destination. They drove through the city and out toward the airport, where Alexandra saw something that took her breath away. A sleek private jet sat waiting on the tarmac, its engines humming quietly. David stood beside the aircraft, no longer in his restaurant attire but wearing a casual sweater and slacks that made him seem more approachable. "Alexandra," he greeted her warmly as she approached. "Thank you for trusting me with this unusual request." "Mr. Matthews, I don't understand. Where are we going?" David smiled, and for the first time since she had known him, it was a smile that reached his eyes. "We're going to Moscow. I have meetings with some Russian partners next week, and I need a translator I can trust, someone who understands both the language and the culture." Alexandra felt her knees grow weak. "Moscow, but I can't afford. This is a business trip," David interrupted gently. "My company will cover all expenses, and you'll be compensated as a professional consultant. I believe your grandfather lives there." Tears filled Alexandra's eyes as the full meaning of his offer became clear. "You're giving me a chance to go home, to see my family." "I'm giving you a chance to use your real talents," David corrected. "The visit home is just a bonus. Sarah always told me that helping others find their path was the best way to find your own purpose again." As they boarded the jet together, Alexandra realized that sometimes life's most beautiful changes come when we least expect them. And sometimes, the people who change our lives are the ones sitting quietly at table 12, listening to our hearts speak in languages they don't understand but somehow recognize. The plane lifted off into the clear Chicago sky, carrying two people toward new beginnings neither had imagined possible just 24 hours before.